What's the most WTF thing you've seen go down in front of you? To heavily pregnant women fighting. Like seriously fighting. I'm talking fists, kicks, scratching, hair pulling. Everybody wanted to break it up but nobody wanted to get in the middle of it. Maybe the babies inside of them were enemies in the past life and decided to continue their battle using their new mothers as flesh mecha Gundam. Driving home from work one night on the freeway, I look out my window to see a yellow motorcycle zip past me, on its side trailing sparks. The driver had fallen off and was rolling past my car. As I was watching him thinking, oh shit, he fell off. I hope he's okay. A black 4-door sedan rolls right over top of the guy, and that was the first time I ever had to call 911. One day at college during the spring semester, birds started falling out of the trees. Most couldn't fly. Some were dead. Others unconscious and kind of twitchy. Really freaked everyone out. Biology department investigates. They determined that a series of flash freezes kick-started the fermentation process of the new spring berries on the trees and the birds were getting shithoused. There was some zoo I visited in Florida where the mulberry trees dropped a bunch of overripe berries and the monkeys in an enclosure ate tons of them and got drunk as duck. I was a kid, say around 7 maybe. My father and I are at the bank and he goes inside to do something, and I stayed in the car. The driver's side door opens, and this guy gets in the car and looks down at the key. He finally turns and notices me, smiles and says, "Sorry, wrong car." I then see him get into a completely different style and color car just a few spaces down and drives away. As a kid, that scared the ever-loving bejesus out of me. Growing up, I worked on a passenger ferry to a town beach. One day we were on a layover between boats, sitting on the dock, eating lunch. It's quiet. There are ducks swimming by. Really nice sunny day. All of a sudden, a swan swoops in from God knows where and literally lands on top of one of the ducks, forcing it under the water. The swan is literally sitting on this duck as it struggles to get free. After a while the struggling stops and the duck the swan landed on does not come back up to the surface. Too long didn't read. I watched a swan drown a duck in cold blood. My husband and I were in a mall in Bethesda, Maryland when we passed a Tyson chicken kiosk where Mary Lou Retton was demonstrating how awesome Tyson chicken is. We watched for a moment and then walked on toward the mall exit. A short way down the mall we see a young woman escorting a person in a chicken costume toward the kiosk. The chicken appears to be splattered with blood red paint and they are carrying a bucket. They pass us and we stop. Did you just see? Was that a chicken? Not wanting to miss what was sure to be a spectacle, we turned around and followed the chick and her chicken friend to the Tyson chicken stage. The chicken costumed man runs toward the stage and tosses red liquid at Mary Lou Retton, who despite her Olympian status, is unable to avoid it entirely. Security guards immediately rush the chicken and grab him, while the woman screams about how Tyson murders chickens. As security drags the couple away we hear the young woman shouting, "Stop choking the chicken. Stop choking the chicken." Still can't believe that happened. We had closed up the restaurant for the night and were cleaning up. 2 women began knocking on the doors, asking us to let them in. They looked pretty distressed, so we let them in. They had been attacked on the street. We sat them down and rang the guard. It was then we noticed the blood. One of the women had multiple puncture wounds in her back. She didn't even realize. They just felt a blow and assumed it was just punches, but whoever attacked them had stabbed them with a screwdriver or something. Pretty WTF moment for us in the restaurant. Shock and adrenaline can help you cope with anything it seems. My life is pretty mundane, but here goes nothing. When I was in middle school my family still had the big old box TV. In fact, its stand was an even bigger broken TV that was built into a wood frame and swiveled. So one day I had a rope and soda on top of the working top TV and accidentally moved the swivel, thus knocking the soda off. It did a full flip and landed right side up, not a drop spilled. I proceeded to run outside and scream like a maniac. Probably the highlight of my life. When I was 12, my whole street was running garage sales on a Saturday morning. Towards one end, There were 2 sales next to each other, and one across the street. Everyone was out and about, including myself. I was surveying my spending options when out flies a deer from between 2 houses, darts across the street, and jumps right through the family room window of the house on the corner lot, shattered glass and all. From within the house I could see the deer bucking wildly and splattering blood all over white painted walls. The father commando rushes in, and after 17 seconds of chaos, yelling, and screaming, the deer struggles back out of the windows and limps away, bleeding a trail behind it. Commando dad slowly comes back out the front door carrying his 6-year-old girl. She's pale white from shock, and has her father's neck in a vice grip. She was the one screaming. The deer was later found dead 4 blocks away. It's super vanilla, but one time I drove by a topless, obese man taking a kitten out of a mailbox. That was like 5 years ago, and I still wonder about the context. Just a few days ago, dolphins in the river. I thought I went crazy, but then I saw them 5 more times over the next 30 minutes. I'm still searching in the web whether it is possible. Is it? I was in my car, turning around to get into a parking space when I see that the space I wanted was occupied by a woman sitting on the curb taking a shit. Needless to say, I parked elsewhere. Was walking in central London to uni about 6 years ago. Just me and 2 guys ahead of me on their bikes on the pavement chatting. They looked very normal. A city police van drives past me and stops at the traffic light. Suddenly about 5 officers burst out the back with machine guns, rare sight in UK, grab these 2 guys, guns in their faces, and drags them into the vans. Sirens on, and off they go. Biggest WTF is why I didn't take the 2 free bikes. I saw a lady I refer to as the bird lady in the metro station in Shanghai, China. She was putting sausage into her mouth, chewing it up, so it was in small pieces and salivary, and then spitting it into the waiting mouth of her granddaughter, who had her mouth open and waiting, like a little bird. It was gross, and I still remember it. 4 years later. My first day in Seattle, way back in the summer of '99. I saw a hipster on Capitol Hill, in unzipped skinny jeans walking his dog with the leash handle around his frank beans. Riding the train on my way home from work one Friday night, and a small group of college students comes on, clearly already pre-gaming at like 6 p.m. They are talking and being loud, and I notice that one girl has some stuff leaking out of the little drawstring bag she's bringing with her. I think to myself, damn, that's going to suck when she finds out. Not a moment later, she turns to her friends and says, "Hey guys, I just peed." And without missing a beat, they all just laugh, and one guy goes, "Oh, Brittany," and they all just get off the train as the doors open, still laughing and being kids, while the rest of us commuters are just staring dumbfounded at this puddle of piss on the floor now. Walking through a forest path at my university, I saw 2 crows taking on a snake. I watched for like 5 minutes as the birds were trying to peck at the snake, and the snake was picking which bad to lunge at. It seemed like the birds were going for the snake's eyes. It felt like that scene in Chamber of Secrets, where Fawkes takes out the basilisk's eyes. A few months ago I was driving on the motorway and a car pulled over onto the hard shoulder ahead of me. The passengers jumped out and literally a few seconds later it just exploded. Like Michael Bay level exploded. Luckily the passengers were just far away enough not to be harmed. I was with a friend, passing by a bar terrace, when one guy stepped in front of us, dropped down to his knee, and proposed to me. He actually had an engagement ring, and held it out. His friends kinda gathered around and cheered on. I just laughed and walked around him. Last summer, some friends and I decided to go drop acid down at the lake near where we lived. We found a comfortable, private spot to set up camp, and began our trip. About 3-4 hours in we start swimming around, tripping our balls off as we play in the water and watch the clouds go crazy. Then we hear some noise, and look over to see a fat, shirtless redneck in jean shorts and his wrinkly, way too tan wife steering a small boat towards the shore near us. We start to get a little worried as they get nearer and nearer. Not sure how we are gonna play it cool with them that close to us. Then, all of a sudden, we see a little wiener dog hop off the boat, followed by another, and another, until there eventually are 7 little wiener dogs running around the shore right in front of us. After what was probably 30 minutes to an hour, the man whistled, and they all ran back to the boat and hopped on, sailing into the sunset never to be seen again. It was a very strange occurrence, and I wouldn't have believed it was real if my friends hadn't seen it as well. At my university, I watched an eagle, which aren't common in my area, swoop down and kill a squirrel early in the morning. What? I can't believe that ducker had the audacity to do that shit early in the morning. My friend nearly shot me in the face when I was 15. I showed him my brother's SIG 9mm with hollow point bullets, then took the clip out and handed it to my friend. He proceeded to point blank aim the gun at me and pull the trigger. One in the chamber. Literally put a small cut in the shoulder of my shirt. WTF brother. Why is one in the chamber? WTF friend. It's a gun. Don't point and shoot unless you plan to kill. WTF myself. Not checking the chamber. You know your brother is an idiot. I was visiting my girlfriend's university to see a dude strip down to his birthday suit and play a song on his guitar for who appeared to be his ex-girlfriend. I was on vacation this past year to the Dominican Republic, and for some reason our rental had issues when turning the car on. The alarm would go off and not shut off. Eventually we learned to deal with it and just drive until it shut off. So one day we are driving with the alarm on, and one of their army men pull us over. We anticipate him coming up to us to say something about the alarm. Instead he starts chasing down a Haitian selling fruit. The Haitian tries to run and the army man shoots him with his M16. I shitted myself at that moment. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of Reddit Universe,